Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. Really quick, if you haven't seen my recent episode on the all-powerful Jelly Bean Omnath Locus of Creation, make sure you watch that episode first, because that is the deck tech, the original episode for this one or before this one. You know what I mean. Anyways, this is the Break the Bank for that episode, so make sure you check out that one first, because if you don't watch the deck tech, the Break the Bank might not make all that much sense, because, you know, on Break the Banks, we basically talk about upgrades for decks. And now I'm just rambling on. I am so sorry. Regardless, I will wait a few seconds to make sure you're in the right place, whether it's that episode or this one, and okay, we're good. Welcome back, or continuing on. Let's go. Regardless, like that episode, this episode comes to you courtesy of Aaron, who's been supporting this channel as a Golden Pig tier patron. I truly couldn't do this without the support from amazing patrons like Aaron, so again, Aaron, thank you so much. And the deck that Aaron wanted built was a competitive deck with in-budget restrictions built around Omnath Locus of Creation. And just as a reminder, Omnath Locus of Creation, the giant jelly bean itself now with 4 colors, is a 4/4 elemental for red, green, white, and blue, so just missing black, though I'm sure we're going to get a 5-color version at some point, but regardless, that's not the point of this episode. Because this Omnath has, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, and it also has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life if this was the first time this ability has resolved this turn. If it's the second time, add red, green, white, blue, so basically it's mana cost, and if it's the third time, Omnath deals 4 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker you don't control. So yeah, this Omnath is a very powerful commander, giving you access to 4 colors, just being 4 mana, giving you a card when it comes into play, and giving you a lot of different kinds of value with landfall triggers. First up, the life gain is nice, just, you know, padding your life total. The second landfall trigger is huge, giving you mana, and the third one can be a fantastic finisher, taking out your opponents with a lot of damage, and also, obviously, taking out their planeswalkers too. But of course, you should know all that if you watched the deck tech, and if you didn't watch the deck tech, what in the world are you still doing here? Go watch that first. Anyways, upgrades. First up, 2 fantastic upgrades that I want to start off things by highlighting are Tatyova Benthic Druid and Lotus Cobra. Tatyova is a 3/3 Merfolk Druid that costs 3 green-blue, and somehow it's an uncommon card, even though it definitely shouldn't be. Anyways, it says whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Tatyova provides you a ton of value throughout the game, especially in a landfall deck. And yeah, in a deck that's looking to have, you know, basically an infinite number of landfall triggers, this can easily win you the game by helping you draw essentially your entire deck. Now, obviously, you need to be careful because that's not a May ability. So, yeah, I mean, if you've got, you know, ways to draw your entire deck, though, with this and infinite number of landfall triggers, you probably have ways to either get something else that can help you win the game or a way to take it out, etc., etc., etc. Regardless, another landfall trigger that is fantastic comes on Lotus Cobra, a 2/1 snake that has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, add 1 mana of any color. This is just an absurd amount of ramp in a deck that is already going to be able to ramp an absurd amount. Omnath, your commander, is somewhat similar to this one. Again, its second landfall trigger gives you, 4 mana, which is huge, but this one doesn't have any limit to it. Essentially, if you just keep getting more and more lands into play in a turn, you just keep getting more and more mana. So your ramp spells essentially help pay for themselves, and again, if you've got those infinite landfall trigger combos going on, well, that's infinite mana thanks to this, and infinite mana of any colors. So, of course, from there are plenty of ways to win, and yeah, Lotus Cobra is a fantastic upgrade for this deck. Speaking of which, let's talk about some upgrades for our tutors with Eladamri's Call and Idyllic Tutor. Eladamri's Call is an instant 4 green-white that says search your library for a creature card, reveal that card, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. This is a very simple but extremely effective card in a deck like this. For just 2 mana, right before our turn, we can just tutor up the exact creature that we need to win, whether, that is Dualcaster Mage, or, Narameha, whatever it is. One of our combo creatures is usually what we can go get with this and just set ourselves up to win right from there. And then Idyllic Tutor is a sorcery for 2 and a white that says search your library for an enchantment card, reveal it, put in your hand, then shuffle your library. Again, there are certain enchantments that are part of combos, like, Valakut Exploration or Retreat of Coral Helm that can help us win, and yeah, this just very cheaply for 3 mana can help us go get either of those. So yeah, in a deck that is looking to win through combo, upgrading our tutors is definitely going to be a good thing. We can also upgrade our counterspell package though to protect those combos with things like Dovin's Veto and a different kind of counterspell with Muddle the Mixture. Dovin's Veto is a fantastic no card that is an instant for white-blue that says, this spell can't be countered, counter target non-creature spell. So it basically says, no, and then no you can't counter this. So it's kind of like the last word. Though typically it can be more impactful to actually stop an opponent from comboing off because, I guess technically they could just counter a different one of your spells. You know what I mean. Regardless, having an uncounterable counterspell in a competitive kind of a deck is definitely not going to be a bad thing. And then another counterspell that I want to bring up is Muddle the Mixture, an instant for blue that says counter target instant or sorcery spell, but on top of that it's got transmute for 1 blue. So you can either utilize this to counter an important spell, or you can actually discard this and search your library for any card that's got a converted mana cost of 2 and get that into your hand. So this can help you out in a lot of situations, and sometimes help you get that combo piece that you might need. Next up, some other ways to protect our combos come with cards like Silence and Veil of Summer. Silence is an instant that costs a white, and it says your opponents can't cast spells this turn. And if your opponents can't cast spells, well, it's going to be very difficult for them to actually stop us from doing what we want to do. Speaking of which, Veil of Summer is an instant for a green that says, draw a card if an opponent has cast a blue or black spell this turn. Spells you control can't be countered this turn. You and permanents you control gain Hexproof from blue and black until the end of the turn. Now this card does a lot of things, and actually it's banned in certain formats because of that, but yeah, it's going to draw you a card if someone's cast a blue or black spell this turn. It's going to protect spells that you're casting, and you and your permanents on top of that gain Hexproof from blue and black this turn. This card does a lot of things, but mostly for this deck's purposes, what we care about is it's going to help us combo off by protecting our spells. Next up though, let's move on to Drannith Magistrate, a fantastic hate bear in a more competitive environment, a 1/3 human wizard that says your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. So essentially, a lot of the time, this is going to be, hey, your opponents can't cast their commanders, which is just lovely for a 2-mana creature. That doesn't impact us at all. Finally, though, we're going to upgrade our removal package with cards like Chain of Vapor and Swords to Plowshares. Chain of Vapor is an instant for a blue that says return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, then that permanent's controller may sacrifice a land. If the player does, he or she may copy the spell and may choose targets for the copy. This is an extremely efficient bounce spell at just 1 mana and instant speed. Yeah, this can be great in the right environment. And speaking of a 1 mana instant spell, how about Swords to Plowshares, which says exile target creature's controller gains life equal to its power. Having someone gain some life is absolutely no big deal at all for a 1 mana removal spell. But now that we've talked about the cards that are going into the deck, what cards are we taking out? And really quick, I always like to say this before actually getting into the cards, just because we are taking cards out does not mean that they are bad cards, it just means that our upgrades are more efficient or more effective in this deck. So the cards that we're going to be taking out to make room for our upgrades are Neutralize, Nylee's Intervention, Mandate of Peace, Revel in Silence, Ruin Crab, Telling Geopede, Into the Royal, Instrument of the Bards, Hieroglyphic Illumination, Echoing Truth, and Springbloom Druid. Okay, and now that I'm out of breath and that we've talked about all of our upgrades and cards that we're taking out, let's talk about the price. Our upgraded decks have a budget of $100, and this one comes just under budget at $99.48. And keep in mind that that estimated cost does still include basic lands at 10 cents a piece, so if you already have those lands, there's some extra savings there. And speaking of extra savings, you might be able to save even more if you buy this deck on TCG Player and utilize heavily played and damage cards because, as always, those cards need a home too. Though, do keep in mind that that estimated cost does not include the cost of shipping, which might vary depending upon where you live. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.